hopefully that would trigger further response. Now, the good thing about this tracking business is you don't have to be right. Let's say I say you're frightened, and that's not what you're feeling. You're feeling frustrated, you're feeling angry, but not particularly frightened. That would be a key for you to correct me and to get me back on the right track.
Of listening.
Yes.
What would be a discounting type of thing? You know, a lot of times people come and they're crying, and you know, it makes some people very uncomfortable. So, Mike, what you might see this a lot in because I did your nursing home thing for a month, and I noticed that there are some people who, you know, are very sad, and they start to cry, and you know, the temptation is to what?
Oh, you shouldn't cry. You have no reason to be sad. Everything's fine. God is here. We should be happy, and that says we're more faithful people. And what that does, of course, is not only shut the person down, it tells them that there's something wrong with them. There's shame involved because what they're feeling, is not good enough. And that's going to, you know, if you're really there to be of some support, there's only two things I remember from a particular seminary professor. One, he said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. There's a God-given message in there. And the other thing he said was, I hope you get to the point where you only give 1 sermon a week. The rest of it is just being there, letting people get what they need. Often it's a trip they have to make themselves, and they can lean against us a little bit, but it's something that people need to feel free to go to. And you don't do it by shaming them or denying their feelings or trivializing how they're feeling.
One of the things I liked what Uzi said yesterday was he said made it a point that all of us have times where we feel disconnected from God. And anybody who says, "Oh no, my faith is always strong," I've often wondered about those people, because when I hear people who say that, I wonder if I'm from the other planet, you know. Is that something that you've experienced in your compassionate listening? People who feel like they've lost their faith in God?
Oh, sure. I think this world offers us enough sorrow, enough concern to question our faith every day. And I think that, as Mike said, if we discount those doubts, if we try to make people feel that they shouldn't have these questions, I think we really damage that divine image in which I believe God does create us. Our job is to try to help them focus and find that place. We don't have all the answers to their problems. There's a reason we worship God, don't expect God to come worshiping us, because God is a mystery, and lots happens in this world. People get sick, people die, things happen that we just don't understand. And if, as Mike said, we can be with people where they are and give them the opportunity to share their pain. There's an old Hasidic story. A young disciple comes to his rabbi and says, "My master, I love you." And the rabbi says to him, "You love me? Do you know what hurts me?" "Oh, how can I know what hurts you?" And the teacher said, "If you don't know what hurts me, you can't love me." And if we allow ourselves to discover what hurts people, I think we're doing a very important service for them. one of the biggest obstacles to this is time. I come into your office, you've got to be somewhere in 15 minutes. I've got this whole load of stuff that I need to get rid of. And so I start to talk. You know you got to be somewhere in 15 minutes. And so the tendency is very natural. I don't mean just you. I mean me. I mean all of us to say, okay, I understand. And you came for advice. Here it is. Here's what you got to do. And I think what Uzi has taught me is that we're much better off allowing that process to go on as long as we can. And then if we're not ready or if we haven't been asked specifically for advice, make another time. Let them come back maybe when you got more time, and we can continue. We don't have to solve everything in a 10-minute interview.
One of the things that I learned from a Gestalt therapy years ago was that a good therapist or a good listener or a good counselor is one who lets the person discover their own solution. Because within each one of us, only the person knows all that they have and to be able to resolve. But it's hidden. And our job, or the job of the listener, is to ask those questions or just to wait for all of that to come forth, because they haven't had the opportunity to enflesh the words. I know for me that I have things go around in my head a lot. And it's not till I talk to somebody and I put it out there that I have an aha. I say, oh, I think I got to do something about that. I just said it. It's alive now. The word is there. What would you say is probably the most important thing when a person is there and you don't have time to get to it all, or for them to, you know this person is unfinished. They want to speak more. What can you say to them with the most compassionate way?
I would say at a certain point, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's set another time when we can get together. But that tendency, we want to close things up. We want to tie the knot next, because we're all very, very busy. And our society tends to depersonalize us all. We're our social security number, we're our computer passwords, we're our checkbook numbers. We're human beings, and we each do represent the image of God, and I think it's our job to enhance that image any way we can. And I think listening and the specific skills that Uzi was teaching really is one of the most empowering ways that we can do that.
Yeah. One of the things that he mentioned that I was so glad he said it, because, sometimes I feel when I'm critical of something that I've heard in the past, I say, that's just you because you don't know any better. I don't have anything to replace it. But when I was learning another way of communicating, the thing was the feedback. Now let me see if I heard you right. You said, and it is very, that's a technique of trying to say, I'm trying to really listen and see if I've got what you're talking about. But I always felt it was so condescending. And he was right, and he said that,
And as you said, you don't even have to be right, but you have to convey that you care a whole lot. You're the most important person right now. Because you're talking to me. You're giving me the privilege of hearing what you have to say and share what you are feeling. And I guess it's the difference between empowering someone and enabling someone in another set of language, If a person feels acknowledged, understood, it's a very empowering